Welcome to the latest edition of Between Two Daves. I'm your host, Jay Williams, joined here by President and CEO David McKinley and Chief Investment Officer David Nolan. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
We've had an eventful few weeks, to say the least. Lots of market activity, lots of questions from clients, from friends, family members, trying to understand how our crystal ball is working. I would like to turn to you just to get your opinions and insights into what we're experiencing in the market and how we might view our stance on investment strategy related to recent happenings. David McKinley, your thoughts in general.
I'm happy to dive into it. And I think that's a really broad question, and I think there are several big themes, and maybe David and I will figure out ways of splitting them up. I think about the theme that's been unfolding over the last few months, well beyond tariffs, valuations of the Magnificent Seven and a shift to more reasonably valued companies, the shift in the value of the dollar and the rise of international equities, and then more recently, tariffs. And what's the impact on global trade and, of course, our economy and markets? I think there's three different paths we could easily take, and maybe David would add even others. In my opinion, I suspect people watching this would be most interested in hearing some thoughts around tariffs. And where my head immediately goes is, what are the intentions? And how will we know when success has been achieved? I have no direct line to the Trump administration, but my sense is that the intent is to do away with all tariffs, those that are implemented against us, as well as those we have recently applied against others. And if that's true, the plan A, it should go away pretty quickly. And in fact, I think the 90-day pause is to bring everybody to the negotiating table to get this done. Like, create a sense of urgency, create a timeline. And in my opinion, I think that pause really is indicating that is the plan A. Scare everybody. You have to get to the table. You watch what the market does, watch the impact, and then you saw those rumors, the rumors that there would be a pause. Markets took off. And then when there actually was a pause, markets took off again. I mean, it is obvious that people want to see it go away. There must be incredible pressure against the governments of nations around the world to remove tariffs. Wouldn't be surprised. If that doesn't work, what's plan B? Do we go to reshoring manufacturing and shifting other industries that have moved abroad? Do we use those tariffs to help close the deficit? Maybe even pay down some debt? It's going to be painful if it goes plan B, and it's going to take a long time. I sure hope plan A comes together. David, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I have a little bit different perspective in that I think the tariffs are permanent because I think they've said that tariffs equal tax cuts, and so I think this is the funding mechanism for the tax cuts that are coming up. I mean, we're going to be reducing potentially removing the taxes on Social Security, tips, and reducing the corporate rate from 21% down to 15%. So I think basically your intention is to keep, and maybe it's that 10% baseline, and I think that will stay as a permanent tariff because like you said, what's the intent? The intent is to bring manufacturing back here, so you have to have that permanent incentive to have folks move back here. But now the reciprocals is where the gamesmanship is, I think, in terms of negotiating and that type of thing. But and you're absolutely right, David, in terms of the market wants to see fewer or zero tariffs because every time, and this gets into a thing we've talked about before about panic is not a strategy in the market because clearly, if you're panicking, you're saying, okay, I know what the rules are now, and then there's some positive news on tariffs, the market, sort of a vacuum up. And so I think that you have to be cautious when you make sort of, broad statements one way or the other, that we know exactly what the rules are. Because one thing in my 40 years in the investment industry, I've always been amazed at the market mechanism. The market just wants to know what the rules are. You tell the market what the rules are, and it can adjust.
And in the business community too, everybody just wants clarity. What are the rules? What is the environment? How do we make decisions? At the moment, it lacks that, and so everybody is stalled, so to speak.
Yeah. Do you see any similarities between what we're experiencing now and any other market event over the last 100 years?
Well, I mean, that's another tricky one. We know that a lot of people are comparing it back to the Smoot-Hawley days in 1930. It sort of exacerbated the Great Depression, and that's one. In terms of the fear component, that's the fear is that, oh my gosh, these are. If you have all of the reciprocal tariffs on, then it's comparable to the Smoot-Hawley levels, and so obviously the hope is that it's going to be dramatically less than that, because free trade is really important for I think global stability. And so comparing it to other periods, we've never had another period other than Smoot-Hawley where the proposed rates would be as high as they have been proposed.
I can't think of another one either. These are uncommon days. Anybody that says they know exactly how this is going to play out, they're wrong.
All right.
Let's just leave it there. We're making our best assessments, and frankly, in investment portfolios, what I've been telling clients, and I think what we never talk about it this way in the investment strategy committee, but thinking of a tree, for example, when you're in an uncertain environment, don't go too far out on the limb. Hug the trunk. Stay in a stable place. We are overweighted to equities because we think that there are still opportunities there, particularly abroad. And in undervalued, less growth-oriented assets, but let's stay a little closer to the trunk and avoid some of the unnecessary risks until there's greater clarity.
Yeah, and then Jay, I would say that when you think about what we've already gone through, we've already gone through a bear market, and bear market's usually defined as a drop of 20% from the previous peak. We've already gone through a bear market in the Russell 2000, the small caps. We've gone through that bear market in the NASDAQ, so the big sort of tech-oriented companies. And we basically almost touched it with the S&P 500. So we've already had a lot of damage, a lot of correction. And historically what happens is the market's a discounting mechanism of the future. And so it looks through the current events. So I think we're having a lot of companies, a lot of individual company stocks that are already in the bottoming process. So yes, at the index level, it's going to vacillate around, but I think we're already seeing some bottoming formations in individual companies that have already discounted a uncertain future.
Thank you both for your responses. Be looking for additional communication. If you're a McKinley Carter client, please do not hesitate to reach out to us if you feel uncertainty or hesitancy over the next few weeks. If you would like to become a McKinley Carter client, please also reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation on how we can help you. Gentlemen, thank you both for your time. Looking forward to the next one.
Very welcome. Thank you, Jay.